So today, Brenna's going to be our speaker, and she's going to focus on dynamics marketing. I think it's a very powerful module, and I don't think everybody knows everything that you can do with marketing and where it ties into dynamics. So Brenna and I had a meeting on Monday, and she's going to discuss a few items that I wanted clarity on. I think you would have found it in the registration when you registered for the webinar. So I'm very excited for that. And then, yeah, Brenna, I'll leave it to you. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason. So today, like Jason said, we're going to talk about Dynamics 365 marketing. As you can see, when we first kind of get into it, there's a whole lot of great tools for automations, lead management, reporting that are all available in the app kind of right out of the box. So I'm just going to give a really brief overview of some of those key areas today. We'll walk through a sample marketing campaign so that you can kind of see some of the benefits firsthand. Because it is such a really big topic, we're not going to get through everything today, right? Every piece of marketing, but it will help us to kind of put together some of these future calls, some of these future marketing topics in this series. So as you can see here, I've already got marketing open on my screen. It probably looks pretty familiar to you already if you've ever seen with or worked with a Microsoft product before. There's a really good reason for that. So one of the great things about marketing is that it actually sits right on the same platform, right, as D365 sales, customer service, field service, all other Microsoft applications in here. What does that mean for us? So aside from just look and feel being really similar, it also means that hopefully our learning curve, right, when we're launching a new marketing product is going to be comparatively, hopefully pretty slim. More importantly, it means that D365 marketing is going to have access to all of the same data as our other Microsoft applications and in real time. So you can see over here on the side, we've got our accounts and our contacts tables. These are the exact same tables that are in D365 sales, for instance. If I were to change like an account's address, if I were going to track an email, if I add a new contact, anything like that, all of those same changes are going to be reflected here right away. So I don't have to wait for a sync to run. I don't have to rely on integrations or a subscription. It's just right here when I need it. And then I can immediately kind of make use of that data to start better informing my marketing efforts, what's going on with my sales pipeline, you name it. And the greatest thing about that, right, is that I'm also doing all of that work using automations that are going to save me a bunch of time, a lot of effort, and money. So it's not just these tables, by the way. I do want to point out, so even though we're just seeing like contacts and accounts right here, we have access to everything in Dynamics. So if you have custom tables, custom fields, columns, prior activities, sales history, all of that is going to be here in here as well because it's sitting right on that same platform. I also have access to other Microsoft products with marketing. So marketing integrates with Teams. It integrates with Office 365. It integrates also with Power BI if you use Power BI in your organization. So that means that you can, and we won't talk about this too much today, but over here in like the event planning section, you can actually host virtual events right within Teams. So you can do webinars, you can do live events, Teams meetings even, all within marketing itself. When it comes to Office 365, you're going to see as we walk through the system today that there are some big similarities between things like the Microsoft Word editor, Word templates, things like that, in different areas of the system. You are also going to, all of our file storage is based in Sharepoint. Similarly, all of our emails are going to come in and out of the Exchange server or the Outlook, the same Outlook integration, right, that we're using for our different sales apps. And then you can also easily, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can import and export data right from Excel for a lot of this. So that's really nice as well. We are going to be touching a little bit on the analytics, or as Microsoft calls them, insights. We'll be talking about that today. They are pretty good out of the box. But if you did have a situation where you wanted some more sort of like robust reporting options, if you wanted to bring in elements from like other data sources and things like that, there is always the option where you could visualize this data using Power BI or pull in any like custom custom charts, graphs, reporting tools, things like that. So very cool. For today, though, we're not going to get into that. We are going to just do a quick overview of the three main areas, really focusing on these first two. So real-time marketing and outbound marketing. If we have some time, we'll pop over and look at some events, but we're mainly going to focus on our outbound and then a little bit of real-time marketing again today. So we are going to just go ahead and jump right in. As you can see right down here at the bottom, I can toggle between these different areas of the system, of the different areas of the marketing app right here. So we have two primary marketing areas, real-time and outbound. We also have event planning. We also have our settings area. So that's where all of our configuration is going to be set up, our company address, our domain hosting, all that kind of stuff is going to get set up here. And they also do have this new training area as well with some couple of like sample journeys and things that you can take. You're probably wondering, my first question, or people's first question usually is, what is the difference between these two areas that we have here, right? Real-time and outbound marketing. So I'm going to pop into real-time marketing first because it's the newer of the two. And we will take a look in real-time marketing. So the big giveaway, the difference between the two is going to be real time. So that time element there at the top. What this section of the app does is that it gives us the opportunity to reach out to our customers at specific moments. So using our automations like emails, text messages, we also have the option to do push notifications. You can see over here. And our communication starts when our customer takes a specific action, which is going to trigger those automations. So those triggers performed by customers, right, can be either real world interactions, like if I walked into a brick and mortar location and I connected to Wi-Fi, for instance, that's a real world trigger. If I scanned a QR code in either a conference, maybe on like a board, I've scanned a QR code or on a product, something like that, that's a real world interaction. They can also be based, though, on virtual interactions. So if I visit your website, or if I enter my details to sign up as a new user, or share a link with a friend, open an email, if my shopping cart is abandoned, any of that kind of stuff, those are going to be virtual triggers, but they're based on actions that I, as the customer, am taking that we are then responding to. So the goal of every one of these scenarios is the same, right? It's to convert my interest into a sale or to strengthen that relationship between the customer, right? To strengthen that relationship with the customer. So the way that we do that in marketing is, let me open up a journey here, is with these trigger-based customer journeys. So we want to, if I go up here to the top and start a new journey, I'm going to go ahead and it's trigger-based. And I want to flag that expression of interest. So thanks for sharing our link with a friend, that kind of stuff, like thanks for connecting to Wi-Fi, any of that kind of stuff. And we want to flag that expression of interest. And then we want to use these pre-built automations to capitalize on that interaction. So we don't want to have to spend a whole lot of time. We don't want to have to spend a whole lot of effort or resources on nurturing that lead face-to-face. But we do want to reward, we do want to reward and interact with that behavior. So maybe like, thanks for sharing our link with a friend. Here's a coupon for 10% off your next purchase, things like that. We can also use trigger-based journeys to remind our customers of their interest down the line. So not necessarily maybe you were on our website today, but maybe you placed a few items in your cart the last time that you were here, and then migrated away and time passes. So we want to be able to use that initial expression of interest to say, let's go ahead and maybe finish your checkout. Lucky you, we can wrap up a free gift with your purchase if you want to check out now, that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of ways, right, that we can use these sort of action-based triggers to kind of automate our marketing efforts. Boost our sales, minimal effort, all great. So I want to walk through a sample journey here of how we might structure for that. So I'm going to use our example of an abandoned cart. And there's a couple of different types of triggers. We do have some out-of-the-box triggers that are available. automatically in the system. So we've got like our contact address was updated. There's a whole lot of just sort of out of the box triggers that exist here. You also, though, in real-time marketing specifically, have the option to create a new trigger, a new custom trigger here at the bottom. So I actually already went ahead and created an abandoned cart trigger. So I'm just going to select that as my option. So say somebody was browsing our website, got called away, they had to check, on dinner or something, and then their purchase was just lost in a sea of tabs. So our custom trigger is going to set up an alert. It's going to alert us after that cart has just sat dormant for 1 day. I could also set this up, it's custom trigger, right? So I could have set it to say 1 week or a year, but I'm probably going to have best luck with 1 day, right? So when the cart has been abandoned for a day, the first thing that I want to do here is send a reminder email. So I have a great template already set up for that as well. I'm going to say send an email here. And it's going to give me all of my different options. So I have already pre-built this abandoned cart initial email reminder. It's going to pop that in here. I can see my little preview over here on the side. I can open this up, view it a little more clearly. So I've got my email if I wanted to check that out, make any changes, edits to it, I can do that here. For right now, my email's good. The next thing that I want to do is I want to split my automation into 2 different tracks. So if they respond and re-enter the process of this email, then great. If not, then there's a couple of extra things that I want to do. So I want to say here, my if then, if my previous message has an interaction, right? I'm going to give that an option. I want to say if my email link was clicked. So if they're going back to their cart, that's great news for me. Now I can go over here to the no. So I'm going to give it a time limit again. If they don't do anything with that email for a day, then, maybe it's a Thursday, they've got things going on. I can go ahead and send a text message. So I'm going to go ahead and send a text message. And I'm going to select a sender. So you do get this out of the box, you do get an SMS text provider that is free up to, I think, 1,000 texts per month. And then after that, there's some different levels, but we do. So I've got for my trial version 100 here, but that should be 1,000. I can also create a new text message. I've already got one set up. My cart reminder text. I'm going to preview that right here. Oh no, you left some stuff behind. Come on back. Maybe I give them an incentive, get a second to share with a friend, right? And click this link here. That's a custom link that's going to take them to their cart. I want to send to their mobile phone. That's great. Maybe though they're in the middle of something, right? They've got groceries to shop for. They don't respond to that text. Then I do want to have, I'm going to do maybe like another if then branch. And overall say, well, if they do, that's great. If not, maybe I want to, if I have a mobile app set up, I could go ahead and send a push notification here. For right now, because I don't have a mobile app set up, I'm going to just do a quick text message and I'll select my second. Same thing here. I could select myself as a sender, select my second cart reminder text, make sure to come back, and on and on and on. So in about 2 minutes here, I have gone through, and rather than just letting this cart be abandoned and kind of losing this sale right to the sands of time, I've now had anywhere between 1 and 3 additional touch points with this customer who already told me that they were interested in what I was selling and that they were ready to buy. So at least 2 of these touch points as well, like whether this was a push notification or another text, is going to be sent right to their mobile device, which is great because everyone's on their phones all the time. And that's going to help us every single time. So not just once for this individual customer, right? But anytime that any cart on my website is abandoned for more than a day, I'm able to reach out to those customers at least 3 or at least 1 time, but up to 3 times, right? Every single time that my sales process is going to hit that very last hurdle. So that is something that is very cool as with real-time marketing, right? Again, it's just one super quick example of how a marketing effort like this can capitalize on that interest, have those additional interactions with our customers. Definitely a lot more to see in here. So if you do have questions about real-time marketing, make sure to drop those into the chat so that we can unpack those maybe on some future sessions if we don't have time today. But the main takeaway that I like to point out with real time, it's really synonymous with customer led. So we want a customer to take an action that then we're responding to, rather than these more, I'd say, like traditional marketing campaigns that are led by us, right? Things like product launches or seasonal campaigns, newsletters, things like that. That's led by us as the company, as the business. All of that and more, right, is going to be found over here. I just discard my changes here in our outbound marketing area. So outbound marketing is where especially a lot of our folks in like B2B spaces are going to just spend the majority of their time. It's the most synonymous, like we said before, with traditional marketing, like we just talked about. But there's also a lot more to it than just, that those sort of more traditional marketing tasks, email blasts, things of that nature. So we have a lot of great tools in here. We've got emails, we do have newsletters, we've got web forms to capture new leads. We have lead scoring to help identify who our most likely prospective customers are so that we can hand them off to our sales team, move them along our sales pipeline, all at the exact same time. So if we're going through the navigation pane here, you can see there's a whole lot of diverse tools here. And I know this can feel a bit overwhelming at first when you do see, there's a lot here that we have to play with. Most folks won't start off with all of these for the first pass. Maybe even there's a couple of them maybe that aren't ever going to be, super a core part of your marketing needs. But like with any application, right? There's a real opportunity in this app for a lot, but it's easily customizable to kind of fit your needs. Not everybody is going to use everything all of the time. So typically what I do is I'll suggest starting pretty small to pick out a couple of core pieces and get really familiar with using those tools, see how those interact with your existing marketing, your sales processes, how your users are responding to them, and then kind of build on from there. So those are usually going to be your big pieces like your marketing emails, your customer journeys, your segments. Some of these other areas like social media management, leads, scoring models, you can get into a bit later. The first place that I do want to go is to our social posts. That's kind of an island over here. This is one of those areas that is either it's absolutely like indispensable to a lot of businesses when it comes to marketing, and others, you might not place as much of an emphasis on social channels to start with. Might be something that you get to over time. So I'm just going to walk through it pretty quickly. So if I were going to create a new post up here at the top, this is great. You can see actually back here on my calendar before I get into there. You can see all of your different posts. So I can see all of my past posts that had been here. I can check into how this was performing. I can see any posts that are scheduled for future dates. It's all in one place. I don't have to pop around between a bunch of different platforms. I can schedule anything from like a day out or months ahead, a year ahead even. I don't, think that's the best idea most of the time. But you can schedule a couple of months, get your social media calendar in order so that you just, have a day maybe where you devote to this and then kind of like set it and forget it. So you can also post to your channels live as needed. I am going to go back in here and set up a post. You can see the different channels we've got available. We've got Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can connect multiple social media accounts too. So for instance, if I were doing like a LinkedIn post or something here, and I were going to connect to the business LinkedIn account, or I could connect to my personal account, or I could connect to maybe like our CEO's account and do post as functionality. As long as you've been given permission to that account, it'll show up here. You can choose from a bunch of different options. You can also, let's go ahead, preview this post in real time. So anything that I type in here is going to give us a nice little preview. I've got to choose a channel here. That's why. Got a nice little, hi there. That's my nice little post that I've got so far. Probably not the best. But I can either schedule this at the top, I can post now. I'm going to actually just exit right back out, and we'll take a look at a post that we've done previously. And we can see our post here that was made yesterday. We do have, once our post is live, we have an insights tab over here that's going to show us a whole bunch of stuff. So you can use this data to kind of think about what posts are performing best, what kind of posts are driving our sales, what are we getting links, we've got a click-through rate. Excellent post, really super fantastic. So we can, if different social media initiatives like aren't generating, or not performing as well as we would like them to, we can kind of focus our resources in other areas, which again is going to save us not only time, but it's going to save us a lot of money as well. And just making sure that we're being really efficient, making data-driven decisions, not just depending on kind of like, well, I think that posted pretty well. Best post I've ever seen. Excellent feedback. Thank you, stranger. So that's about it for social media right now. If you do have questions, go ahead and drop them in. I'm going to run over to segments for our next bit here. And segments are the most likely segments you will use with everything that you do, really, in outbound marketing. If you've ever used marketing lists at all in D365 sales, or if you've used like any marketing applications like MailChimp, Constant Contact, any of that kind of stuff, it's a very good starting point for understanding our segments. So that's our who. So our who of the marketing journey, who are we talking to, who are we selling to, who are we connecting with? We can define those in a couple of different ways. So if you see up here at the top, I have two options. I've got a dynamic segment or a static segment. I'm going to go into my dynamic segment first. Marketing is going to offer me a ton of templates here right out of the box. That's all great. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and skip those. And we're just going to build a segment from scratch. So a dynamic segment, essentially what that means is it's a query. So there's a couple of different queries that we can run, and they're running constantly behind the scenes. So if I have, for instance, a contact in Winnipeg, right? For instance, show me all my contacts in Winnipeg. And then I have somebody new who moves to the area, they're automatically going to update on this dynamic list. They're going to automatically show up here as a member within 15 minutes is like the biggest chunk of time it'll take to see them in here. If they leave Winnipeg and move to LA or somewhere warmer, right, they're going to be removed automatically from this list without me having to lift a finger and do anything for that. So that's my basic query. So if I'm just querying the kind of data that I already have in Dynamics, it can be anything, right? I've got all of my different tables here. I've got all of my different columns to choose from. I can put different conditions all around that. That's very similar to a traditional sort of marketing list. Where segments really get differentiated are going to be right down here in these other two options. So I'm going to delete that guy. We also have with marketing behavior blocks. So this is really similar to our triggers that we saw back in real-time marketing, but these are going to be, they're a lot more standardized. So these are linked to behaviors. So I want to see someone clicked an email. Great. What's another behavior? They sent an email reply. If emails were, let's see, go up some activities, confirmation requests, if a customer journey record updated, emails blocked. So I do have a lot of different options in here. There's also stuff like if they submitted a web form, if they, forwarded a link to a friend, all of that kind of stuff is going to be in here as a behavior block. It's a little more standardized, like I said. So the third option that also differentiates these is this segment block. These are great. So I can also use existing segments that are already in the system to control this list and to create a new one. So if I wanted to say, they can be used for suppression a lot of times. So if I wanted to say, show me everybody who's attended an event maybe in the last year, but not those that are currently registered for an upcoming event that I'm marketing to. That's a great example of a suppression list. I could have both of those lists in here, choose a but not, right? And I could immediately eliminate that group of people. I also, though, can have them be additive. So I could say, and also show me maybe everybody who submitted a form, but is, or no, not a but, and also, so show me everybody who submitted a form and everybody who checked a field for, interested in hearing more about marketing on their email subscription. So there's a lot of different areas that we can use these to kind of create like multi-segments, really, those additional pieces. And again, all of this is going to update in the back end about every 15 minutes at most. So those are really powerful sort of set it and forget it lists that you can then use in all your different marketing campaigns. I'm going to back out of here. We'll discard and talk about our other option, which is a static segment. So a static segment is more, a static segment is more like a traditional sort of basic marketing list. So if I wanted to say, show me maybe all of my holiday party invitees, or if I wanted to say, show me my top 10 accounts. That's something that is like specific to me. It's not anywhere that I can query that data necessarily. But I could go through and sort of cherry pick my personal top 10 accounts and then send marketing campaigns on their way. So you could also run a query to fill this list. It's going to be a one-time query though. So I can run a query and say, give me my top 10 accounts by sales. But if I want to go in there and maybe make a couple of tweaks, a couple of changes, if I want to add or remove members, I'm going to have to do that manually for everybody. So I would go over to my members. I could say add. I can choose a record, pull up either my contacts here. Let's say maybe Angela. She's the greatest. I'll add her. Or I can manually remove. But this list is never going to change without me taking, a manual physical action against it. They also can be locked. So if I wanted to make sure that my top 10 accounts is secured only for me, only for my changes, I can do that as well. So let's give a refresh here. We're waiting on that. There is a third type also of list that isn't shown there, but if we pop over, our next area is going to be marketing emails. We can take a look at it here. So the third option I want to mention is the subscription list. So if you see down at the bottom of really any email, right, we have this option here to unsubscribe. If you've seen that link down at the bottom of any email, it probably looks pretty familiar. That's actually a legal requirement for any time that you're sending a commercial email, which is really good for us as customers. And then on one hand, it's good for us as a business because we don't want people, instead of hitting this unsubscribe, like marking us as spam or, things like that, getting us blacklisted by email providers, essentially. It's not so great, though, when your audience chooses to unsubscribe from all of your communications. So one of the things that you can also do with segments over here is create a subscription list. So a subscription list is just a type of segment, but you can give your audiences sort of different options about the communications that they do want to hear about. So they can opt in maybe to hear about promotions that are going on, or they can opt in to hear about new product launches, but maybe they're not local. So they don't want to hear about events that are taking place at our store. So they want to opt out of that. But then we still have the opportunity to market to them. We still have the opportunity to send them information that they do care about, that they do want to hear about. And then they're not, they're less likely to just instantly delete or scroll on by or mark as spam or delete our emails. So that is pretty nice. And then since we're in here anyway, talk a little bit about marketing emails. As you can see, if I go back out here, I'll go ahead and do a new email. And just like with our segments, we are going to have a ton of out-of-the-box templates that are available here. You can also, these are just our sort of standard out-of-the-box Microsoft templates, and they are pretty good. You also have the option here for your custom templates. So if you spend a lot of time personalizing an email, putting your logo in there, your brand colors, most of these, the editor, like when you're actually in the email editor itself, it's very low or very no code even. It's a lot of like drag and drop. It's extremely easy to work with. But if you spend a lot of time kind of putting together that template of the colors are just how I want them, I've got my correct fonts and everything, you can save your own custom templates then to use again and again, which is also going to save a whole lot of time. I'm going to go ahead and just choose a template here though for now so that we can move on. You can also skip that, right, and start from scratch, just like we did with our segments. But so we do have, like I said, a lot of low or no code options to edit this email template. They're all going to be over here along the side. We can check out, we've got our text box, and it's just this easy. So if I wanted to add some text maybe under here, I can drag this box over, drop it, and then my text editor is right up here at the top. Very familiar. It looks just like it does in Outlook, looks just like it does in Word. I can add link text, bold. I can change my size, font, all that kind of great stuff. The other thing that I can do here, I'm just going to remove that little block because my template's looking pretty good. I can add images, buttons, videos just have to be linked sort of outside marketing. So if you have like a YouTube or a Vimeo link or something like that, it just can't be hosted within the app itself. All of your images though they'll be in an image library specific to marketing. You also can implant QR codes here, which is really nice. Change your sections. If you want to save any of these content blocks for later, those would appear here. Save us some time as well. We do have this new option here to help with brainstorming for content ideas, which is pretty exciting, very ChatGPT. You can do A/B testing. So if I wanted to send maybe the exact same email, but with a different subject line, and then see which of those emails perform better, I can do that here as well. I can change all of my styles. So this is entirely customizable. And that's something that's increasingly important, right? We want to have brand identity. We want to have like I can see from a mile away, maybe this is an Azamba email. I want everybody to see it from space. Know our colors, know our branding, and be really familiar with us and our products. I also can change all of my email header information. So this is something that's really, really cool about the marketing app is that instead of coming from, we obviously don't want to send this email from system administrator. I don't know how many opens that's going to get. But for instance, if I wanted this from name to be whomever the account owner is. So if this is Jason's account, I want Jason's customers to see Jason's name on the heading of the email. But if it's my account or if it's Gordon's account, I want that name to change. So we have here something called dynamic text. So what we can do with the from name, if I click in there, is use this personalization or use this dynamic text to say, I'm going to pull dynamic content from that contact record. And again, all of this is just our D365 sales data. And I want to see the owner. So if I go down to owner, great, I'm going to just insert that. And now for every single email that goes out, the contact owner is going to be who this from name is coming from. I can do the same thing with the from address. There's also an option in here to do a different reply to. So for instance, if I wanted every one of these emails to come from our CEO, but maybe I don't want the replies to go back to him. Maybe I want those to go back to his assistant or, a lead sales rep or something like that. I could have a different reply to address here. That's really, really, really useful when you're getting people to sort of interact with and really personalizes your communications, which is super important. You can do the same thing actually in the subject line. You can do the same thing in the pre-header. You can do the same thing in the email body. So if I wanted to say, for instance, like just for you, and then do a nice little personalization tag here, I'm going to insert some dynamic content and I want to maybe just choose like the first name. So if I want to say first name, there we go. Like just for you, Jessica, we've got, give him a nice little exclamation point. If I wanted to preview and test that, I can pull up just any old record that's in CRM. So maybe Abby. I can go ahead and preview this email and say, see what it's going to look like when it gets sent to Abby herself. I also up here at the top, while this is loading, can check my content. So that's going to check for things like ADA mismatches. So if like font is too small, or if the background color, you can see here it's uploaded. If the background color makes it really hard to read, that kind of stuff, it's going to give you a nice little warning that says, oh no, your content's not great. let's take a look at an email that's already finished. And once so that was an email in draft mode, right? So you see that's all in draft mode. In order for these emails to be usable in any other area of the system, you just have to sort of check that content and go live. So this is a live email that we've got for one of our others. And the great thing about using the emails is that they themselves, and we'll talk about this in a second when we look at our customer journeys, is they will also have analytics, reporting data, insights in here as well. So I can see, how is this email performing overall? How is this email doing in general? I can also break it down by specific campaigns and say, okay, well, this is part of our 2023 summer conference series marketing plan. How is it doing in this specific series? So there's a lot of great options that you can see here. You also over here in the preview and test are going to see the option to preview as in different email clients. So you can see, like, what does this email look like in Outlook? What does this email look like in Gmail? That is it's a third-party extension called Litmus. I think you get 100 free previews per month just out of the box in general. So if you do want to preview any beyond that, it's a Litmus subscription. But it's super useful. So I do recommend that. At least for that first 100, right, that you do get to preview every single month. You can also view as tablet, desktop. So all of this is really nice to be able to kind of test. You can test send to yourself if you want to do any checks before this actually goes out in a marketing campaign. So very good to do that as well. Always recommend a test send so that you can kind of see with, interact, test your links out and all that kind of stuff without throwing off any of your reporting, any of your analytics. So now that we have our emails, we've got our who, we've got our segments, we've got our what, or at least part of our what with a marketing email. What are we sending? What are we communicating? We can send on over to our customer journeys. And the customer journey, so anything that you do for the most part in outbound marketing is going to be through a customer journey. That's our what, or our how. So how are we communicating? How are we working with our customers? How are we reaching out? That's all going to be here in a customer journey. So again, if I go up here to start new, I'm going to get multiple template options. There's a great library to choose from. Just like email templates, we can also save our own in here. So if we wanted to do like a monthly newsletter, or we want to market it about an event that we're having, these are all really useful out of the box. Quick email blast is one that you'll use a lot. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just skip, and we'll build this from scratch. Now, the first thing that we want to do in a customer journey is give it a name. So the first thing I want to do is give it a name. I'm just going to call this one test journey for right now. But usually I'll be a little more specific, because I do like to stress naming conventions. Naming conventions are super important, because even though you might just have one journey right now today, this time next year, you might have 1,000, so you want to make sure that we have good naming practices so that we're easily able to find those things, especially if we're working with like a marketing team or a team of sales users even that want to do like email blasts and things like that. We want to make sure that we're able to find the stuff that we're looking for later, especially when we want to report on it. So what I can do here, the first thing after naming, so I'm going to hit save. First thing I want to do after naming and saving my journey is set an audience. So who am I trying to talk to? If I click on that, it's going to open this segment option over here on the side. So I have a couple of different source options. I can choose a segment, which we talked about earlier. There's a lot of good ones in here. So maybe I want to say my previous webinar attendees is a nice dynamic segment that I have going. So every time somebody attends a webinar, they're going to get added to that list. So I want to see every time that somebody is a previous webinar attendee, I want to maybe send them a quick email. And you can see here when I click on my little plus sign, it's going to give me all of these different options. And it's not just email, right? We have a lot of different, just like we saw in our real-time marketing journeys, we have a lot of different branches. So I could say if then, I want to follow down a couple of different paths. I can do the same thing with split and just say, okay, I want to test some things out. The first half, maybe the first 50 of these emails that go out, I want to send a link to. The second 50, maybe I want to create a task to give them a phone call, talk to them directly, create a lead. So you can kind of test out these if then branches in your different journeys. You also can put different wait conditions on here. So if I want to say wait for a week and then send a reminder email, or if I want to say we have a new product launch coming up June 15th. I don't want to send any marketing about that product launch until maybe June 1st. So I want to do a wait until and have June 1st in there. So no matter who comes in and when they come into this journey, it's going to wait until June 1st to actually send this next step here. I also can use customer journeys to create leads. This is a great one. If you're using things like a landing page, which we do have over here as well, we'll probably cover on another call, the marketing forms. So if I have a marketing form on my website and I say, enter your information here for more information or to get this free download or, for any of that kind of stuff, I can create a lead record immediately, or I can create one here in the customer journey. There's also a LinkedIn integration as part of that social media setup that we looked at that allows you to bring in leads from LinkedIn and also to start LinkedIn campaigns from marketing. So we could do that here. You can also set up custom workflows. That's great for lead management. When a lead gets marked as super hot or something, what do we do with that? Who do we send it to? We also have our regular sales activities. So these are the exact same activities in Dynamics 365 sales, customer service, field service. We can create tasks, create appointments, phone call records, schedule phone calls for the future, assign them to our account owners, things like that, our lead owners, things like that. There's also an option here for a custom channel, which would maybe be a good thing to get into on another call. And event tile is legacy, so we won't be using those anymore. But the main chunk of what you're going to be looking into is going to be most likely sending emails or assigning these different sales activities to users in the system. And this is really great because you're automating. I mean, this is a great automation to have that can run either automatically or you can start looping in your users right here from the marketing app. So the other thing that we can do is if I were to choose an email, I'll go over here and choose a quick email. Got to save the date. I also can arrange my schedule, when I want to send, how I want to send, all of that information here. Maybe I don't want to send emails on the weekends because those times aren't great. Maybe I can see in my analytics, right, I'm not getting a lot of traction on those days, so I want to drop those off. There's a lot that you can customize in here with emails. Speaking of those analytics, though, I'm going to go back and we'll open up an existing journey and take a look at the kind of data that we get in here. So if I open up this summer conference series, which we saw earlier, you can see this is how a standard journey would really look. So I've got all these different tiles in here. I want to send an email. If they've submitted the web form, if they've gone to my website and said, I want to hear more about this event, great. The first thing I want to do is send them an email saying, save the date. This is their information that we have so far. Maybe I want to wait a little bit then, wait a week, wait a couple of weeks, and then send a second email about our early bird registration. We've got our sessions posted, take a look, have people go on through and hopefully register, right? Early bird, so I could have some good, get some special offers in here, things like that. If they click it, if they register, this could also be if they register, I could send them a confirmation email. If not, I would send them down a separate track, right, where I want them to see these other options. So as far as my reporting, so my insights in Dynamics, you can see, I can see my general journey insights, and these are going to show me my email delivery. So if I had any bounced rates or anything like that, those would show up here. They're also going to show me when people respond to or interact with these responses. So say for instance, and also my registration. So they're going to give me just really general sort of surface level information about how this journey is going overall. What I most likely am going to think is important though, is what's happening with my if if-then statements, or what's happening with my specific emails, my registrations, things like that. So there's also a lot, to look in here. We can have another call maybe to go through all of these together, but the big things here are going to be like our delivery. So I can see my emails were delivered. I can see the different links that were included in my email. Were they clicked? How often were they clicked? I can see open times. So I can see, are my emails performing really, really well early in the morning, in the afternoon, later at night, and use that to make really data-informed, strong decisions about how I'm going to continue my marketing efforts. I can see my interactions. So if people are opening my emails, going back, if they're clicking through, somebody who's, consistently interacting with that information is probably going to be of more value to me than somebody who clicked through it once and maybe put it into a, viewed folder. Along with that, so we can see all of our different analytics here. This is super useful information. The great thing about this, because we talked about earlier how our data is visible to us from sales in marketing. We haven't really talked about the fact that our marketing data is also going to be visible and usable to our sales team, which is, even better a lot of times. So if this is my contact, even in the timeline here, I can see all of the different interactions. So I can see the emails that have gone out from the marketing app. I could see any replies back from Alva. I also here in the Insights tab, just as a salesperson, can see what are the kind of interactions that my customer is having with our marketing. So are they visiting our website a lot? Are they following links to specific products? Are they interacting with, are they coming to events? Are they interacting with us online? So that's all really very good information for a sales team, especially to have when you're trying to decide, where am I going to spend my time and effort? Well, if I see that Alva is spending, a lot of time kind of clicking through, looking at different emails, products, interacting with us on the web, Alva's somebody who's probably going to move to the top of my timeline. So insights are really useful in marketing, but they're also useful in the sales app as well. I can see this exact same view in the sales app. And one more thing, I know we're like coming up to time pretty quickly here, but there's one more thing that I want to touch on as it relates to the sales team specifically. So how do we, and that's leads. So how do we use our data to better inform our sales processes here? So let's see. Usually our marketing leads are not going to interact a whole lot with our sales team. Customer journeys, marketing campaigns, things like that, a lot of times will involve hundreds, thousands of leads. Not every single one of those leads that comes in, right, is going to require a salesperson to get into contact with you or require that level of attention, right? So instead of assigning every single individual contact who's ever come to our website ever to a sales process or a salesperson, we're probably going to want to think instead about like, who is our ideal customer? Who's our typical customer? What are the indicators that they are interested in our product or ready to buy or ready to move on to the next stage of our sales process, right? That's going to be a unique conversation for everybody. It's not the same. So we do have, some score models that are here out of the box that are customizable. But again, they're very custom. They're very personal to every business. They're going to be different every time. So instead of assigning somebody like Jason or anybody to go through this mountain of leads to say, oh, this lead looks more important than that lead, we can also automate that process using marketing as well. So if I were going to come in here, I have a new lead scoring model. And what I'm going to use this to do is to define how important this lead is to my sales process. So I have a lot of different options for conditions. If I drag a condition over here, and maybe I want to say, if somebody has clicked an email, that's great. I can assign that. They clicked an email. They've clicked an email. I'm going to make that maybe they clicked a newsletter. Clicked newsletter link. There we go. So if they've clicked a newsletter link, that's great information for me to have. I could say at least 3 times. So they've clicked a newsletter link at least 3 times in the last 3 months. So I can tell that they're regularly interacting with our information. I can tell that they're regularly interacting with our newsletter, following product links, all of that. I can also then assign that a score. So I could say that to me is worth, there it is, maybe 10 points. So I'm going to assign just a 10-point value. It's important to me to have a 10-point, maybe it's 5 points, maybe, and these are individually weighted. So if I wanted to say, like, if they attended an event, maybe that's 50 points. Maybe they, gave us a call incoming. Maybe they called us and asked for pricing. Maybe that's, 60 points. And then what we do with those point values here, it's going to be over in grades. I can say when these totals, so when any of these conditions that I build out reach a certain value. So if I say 50 points, I can add this to a sales process flow and say, once they've completed all of these actions up to a 50 point, maybe I want that to be assigned as either a hot lead or a warm lead, or maybe I want to send it directly to a salesperson as part of their pipeline and have them follow that up. So these are all 100% customizable. They're really great to use. You've got a lot of different options with these conditions and these point values. You can also say, like, if I wanted to narrow these down to a specific journey, you can do that as well in the system. So there's a lot of sort of interplay in the marketing app, especially between marketing and sales, which is a little, I mean, that's pretty unique as far as D365 or as far as D365 marketing goes. So if there are any questions about that or about lead scoring, I think this would be a good thing to look at a little bit more detail later. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and close things out and see maybe if we have any quick questions that we can see here at the end.
Thanks, Bryn. I see Patrick did post a question. He asked, can a customer journey be exported to another format? For example, doc or PowerPoint to share as a draft with others?
That is a really great question, Pat. It does remind me of one other thing about marketing that is specific to marketing as opposed to other D365 apps, which is that instead of assigning individual licenses, so like when we get D365 sales, we need each individual user to have a license. Marketing is one flat license, so it's for the entire environment. So if there were a need for anybody else to jump in and view a customer journey, they don't need a specific license for that. As far as exporting, let me take a look. I'm not sure about being able to export to a PowerPoint. It might be something that you're able to do with templates. I could definitely look into that a little bit more. But the main thing I think that people might be interested in is probably that analytics and reporting, those insights on our customer journeys, and that you absolutely can, either with Power BI or even just with Excel. You can export that data pretty easily.
I really like marketing, Bryn. And I'm going to say what Pete always says: we are our typical customers, and I can already see, and Sandy, that where this could tie into either CRM and can leads, or targeting CRM and can customers, or even partners. Patrick, I know you're busy with partners as well, where we could score partners, we could reach out to partners. Especially the webinars we do as well that Sandy has been posting on LinkedIn.
Yes.
It does all the integration. It's super awesome.
There's so many ways we could be and should be utilizing it. And it would make life so much easier rather than using, this would do away with Aweber. We wouldn't have to use that anymore. And all the stuff that happens because of that. You know, you use an Aweber, and then afterwards I have to go through a list of who's unsubscribed or who's bounced, and then manually go into CRM and make those change. You know, Pete's always talking about us getting more automated, and to me, this has always been like a number one thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's something, Sandy, with those segments you can do automatically, those suppression segments, and just say, if it bounced, show me a list. Yeah, but also don't send to them again.
Exactly.
And I know I love it. Yeah, I'm with you.
I know. Well, you know what it is too? I've used it at every other company I've been with since I started working with Dynamics. And I thought it was weird we weren't using it.
Sandy is
Yeah.
at an A level. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
train the trainer.
Brent, I really want to do another webinar with this marketing thing and focus more on events and registrations, because that I think
Yeah.
is a call on its own. It's super amazing what you could do with it.
Also,
yeah.
the web, so we didn't even touch really on like the marketing forms, marketing pages, like how this information gets integrated with your own domain, which is huge. It's a good part of events too. So if we did want to do another call on events, I would probably sneak that in there as well. There's just so much to marketing, right? That we like barely scratch. We got a lot in today, but there's so much more that we could look at. So
yeah, the events would handle all of our webinar stuff, you know.
yeah,
Oh
they're
my
awesome.
God. Yeah, with all the follow-up emails and the reminder emails, and oh my God. And again, getting those leads and putting those leads into CRM. You know, somebody that has never been in our database before that signs up, I want them in the database, you know?
Yes.
So there's just
We could
so
even
many ways.
we could be hosting these webinars, right, via marketing and have them send out an automatic, instead of Jason having to do it every week, an automatic email with reminders for everybody, for registration, follow-ups, all that kind of good stuff. So it's a very cool
And
app.
it would do away with my Power Automate as well that I had to build, you know? So I'm a fan. We'll just leave it at that.
Big fan. I will say too, just for our knowledge, what they're doing right now, so it's 2 sections right now. I think it seems like the goal anyway is to migrate everything outbound marketing eventually into this real-time marketing area. And there has been, even since I've been doing the marketing or working with the marketing app for only like the last year or so, there have been so many changes and so many updates in the last year that you can tell that they're really spending a lot of time and resources on improving this product. And that's very cool. So who knows what's next?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be that it was completely separate. The database was completely separate from your accounts and contacts. You know, they were in the database as the marketing database as leads, you know, with contacts companies. And then once you converted them, then they would go into your main CRM system. So it's come a long, long way.
I do love it. I love you, marketing. I'm obsessed. So yeah, if you guys have ideas or questions or more things that we want to talk about for marketing, I definitely think it would, I mean, at least one more call really we could do on marketing, but there's probably, I mean, there's a few potential, like events itself is at least one call, maybe just like web events is one versus like a live event, right? So,
Right. Yep.
But yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate your time. I know we're like a little over time here too. So thanks for sticking around.
Awesome job, Marin.
Thanks guys. Yeah.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.